tips, strategies, and advice to help you grow your business from inspirational business women in the know. And today we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Heather Burgett, and she'll be talking to us about soul-aligned branding for women entrepreneurs. So we'll be getting started in just a moment. Hey everyone, I'm so pleased that you're here today for our first broadcast of 2023. I'm so excited to help you get to know Heather Burgett. She has just a goldmine of information for you today on how to get more visible. So I'll be introducing her in just a moment. But first things first, I want to thank you for being here because I know your time is valuable. And I know that the time you spend here is going to be equally valuable to you. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and play the preview trailer. Now, this is a cue to you while you're watching it to go ahead and help spread the word. Let other people know about this interview so that they don't miss out on this great information from Heather. So we'll start the interview just after the preview trailer. All right, so I'm sure you're as excited as I am to talk with Heather in just a moment. But today I want you to also know that the show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a complimentary live stream marketing assessment. Now, why might you want to take that? Well, number one, it's going to give you some really powerful questions and guidance on how to step out of your shadow and shine online using live stream and other forms of video and digital marketing. So I expect that you'll really love the benefits of taking this, and it will only take you a couple minutes anyway. So if you're interested in doing that, go ahead and text #success to 775-800-4179, or if you're out of the country, just go to hangout-marketing.com and the assessment will be right there for you. Now let's get into introducing you to Heather. And I want you to know that Heather is the founder and CEO of the Burgett Group. Heather is an award-winning publicist, a visibility expert, international speaker, and podcast host. And in the past 20 years, she has represented Grammy and Oscar winners, authors, billionaires, celebrities, philanthropists, rock stars, and top brands. And through her PR Stars online programs, Heather helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs leverage mainstream media and high-level digital PR strategies to grow their business and attract their dream audiences for more impact, income, and influence. So now today, Heather will discuss her top strategies for, number one, heart-centered feminine marketing. Can't wait to hear about that. Number two, the visibility journey from unknown to unforgettable. And number three, her top visibility mistakes that she wants to make sure that you avoid. Heather, welcome. Come on in and say hi to our audience, won't you?
Hi, it's great to see you, Virginia. Hello, everyone.
We love having you here, Heather. You know how I feel about visibility and how important it is for the entrepreneur to get the word out about their expertise. And I know it's such a challenge for so many business owners. They have a passion, they have an expertise, and they have a desire to make a difference in the world. And yet they tend to stumble over this very important aspect of doing business. And that is getting the word out, marketing, proper PR, and all that. So you have such an amazing background. It goes back decades, and I'm just so excited for people to hear from you. But first, let's let them know a little bit about that background, how you started in the area of PR and helping people get the word out, and maybe a few of the experiences you've had along the way. People would love to hear that. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And I know from the moment we met, like we knew there was a lot of synergy there because we both are so passionate about helping people, especially women, shine their gifts online. And that's been a big passion of mine as I really have learned to lean into what my actual purpose and gifts are over the years. And I've been in PR and marketing for over 25 years. It's really only the past 5 years or so that I started my online business to start helping more small business owners, consultants, creatives learn how to get their own publicity. I saw a gap in the marketplace. My background was working with, as you said, millionaires, billionaires, celebrities. And that, with my agency, it was very cost prohibitive for most small business owners to actually get that kind of help that they wanted, the awareness, the visibility, the publicity for their work. So it was about 5 or 6 years ago when my last grandparent passed away, my grandmother, who was just one of my best friends and one of my biggest cheerleaders and just so dear to me, where I was looking at my life and saying, how can I make a bigger impact? How can I help more people? How can I really leave a legacy of, my heart-centered gifts and put those into the world in an aligned way? And that's where I really went on the journey, which we can get into a little bit more, of having to take my own medicine, right? I'd been talking from unknown underdogs to top celebrities, talking them off the ledge for 2 decades on how to be in the spotlight, how to be on camera, front, center stage. But I got to stay behind the scenes. So, then when I decided I'm going to do this and reach more people, I realized I'm going to have to put myself out there in a bigger way. And my background was really coming from a very small town with 2,000 people, watching The Wizard of Oz every year and being fascinated by the movie making and storytelling. And as I grew up, I realized I really wanted to work in the movie industry. And so when I was old enough, right out of college, I ended up hopping a plane to Hollywood and started being a movie publicist. And one of the first projects that I worked on was the Blair Witch Project, which to this day remains one of the most profitable independent films ever made, grossing over 250 million worldwide. And so it really was baptism by fire in terms of learning how to do this publicity. And
I remember that movie when it came out. My kids all came home talking about this, and that they kept saying, I haven't slept for a week. So it was a very powerful film. How fun that you were able to start right there.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. And, that was one of the powerful things about it, was that power of positioning and the fact that people thought it was real. And that was a big part of the marketing campaign and publicity campaign, was to let people think it was real and not lie to them, not tell them, it's not real, but just let them kind of find their own way with it. And then that's really where it became this worldwide phenomenon, because people thought it was, at first, they thought it was found footage. So that's, when we talk about the power of publicity and positioning and marketing, you can look to examples like that to see like what was so special and why was it such a success. Of course, there were a lot of stars that aligned, but a big part of it was that positioning. Yeah.
Oh, well, I love your background. And I think it's just so fascinating that you started there because, and this is so important, you guys, she had a dream, she had a desire, she took action on it, right? And that just all evolved. And the other thing that Heather said, that I want to really drive the point home is that she wasn't used to being in front of the camera. So now as her career has transitioned from helping get publicity for some of the big stars out there, instead she's helping entrepreneurs do the same thing. But in order to do that, she had to get in front of the camera. She had to step out herself and do what she was going to be teaching all of you to do. So I think that's brilliant and love it. And the other thing I want to say to all of you is, listen, Heather is going to have so many what I call gems over the next several minutes. When you hear one, would you please let us know? Just put in the comment section, gem, and tell us what you got from one of her comments, because she's full of strategies, she's full of experience, and we want to make sure you're getting the best out of this interview. So Heather, brilliant. I love that you're sharing and you're being honest about, I had to step out too, and it's not always comfortable if you're not used to being in front of the camera. I certainly learned that myself when I started this show now over 9 years ago, is that it's hard at first. It gets easier as you just step out. So let's continue with that. Is there anything else you wanted to share about your background before we go into our 3 topics?
Yeah, I mean, I think another really important piece that, so when I started moving into the online business space and, this, new entrepreneurial journey. I've always been an entrepreneur, but having my own agency and I've had other small businesses, but this, was a whole new infrastructure that I had to learn. I say I went from analog to digital, like learning this. And so a big part of it was, okay, figuring out, this is something for everyone to do is in their business, is figure out what makes you unique, what's your core differentiator, right? Like what makes you stand out from the crowd? And so I really had to look at my background and look at why was I having so many great results for my clients in my agency work. And it was largely because I had also had one foot in the healing arts, and I had been studying metaphysics, universal spiritual principles, the healing arts for years. And I was incorporating this inner journey to the work that I was doing and with the outer work, right? The strategy. So I realized it was that combo of the inner and the outer games. So I take a very inside out approach to all of the work that I do and how I help people. And it really all starts with that alignment. And this is really what, calls in sort of that more feminine based approach to sales, marketing, PR, is being so in alignment and lit up with your gifts and your vision that you do become magnetic to the people that you're meant to serve. So I had to do that for myself first. And I always joke, with my community about, I always tell the story of how I wasn't even going to have my photo on my website when I launched my online business, and quickly realized, oh yeah, that's not going to fly. You've got to be, your own best, person in the front of your business talking about what you're doing, because no one's going to represent it better than you.
You have to walk your talk.
Exactly.
Okay, so I love that. And you're really helping people to understand the power of the connection from the the inner, the value that you place and the value that you see and feel and perceive in order to get into the outer space so that other people can connect with you. And it is all about authenticity. It's just about getting comfortable being in your own body and not comparing yourself to anyone else. And people will be drawn to you magnetically because you resonate with a certain group of people. So I love that you're including that in the processes that you use with people, because if you don't start there, if you don't feel that you're deserving to get exposure, deserving to get good publicity, you're going to be your own worst block, your own worst enemy. So I think that's a really important point you're making. And that leads us into the first topic, which is about the feminine, the heart-centered feminine aspect of marketing, which, so many marketers are male. And we can all probably agree, we women entrepreneurs, not to put you guys down, we love you, but your approach is often quite different, often a little more direct, and what a woman might perceive as perhaps a bit pushy. What do you think, Heather?
Yeah, I think that's the general stigma out there around PR marketing sales, is that it's got this sort of ickiness to it. That's the word I hear all the time. It feels icky. And, promoting myself or, putting myself out there and talking about myself. A lot of people come in with that sort of mindset. And what I need, to bring to everyone's attention, first and foremost, is that this isn't about really changing who you are, what you're doing. It's just leaning more deeply into who you are, your own gifts, your own purpose. And as we talk about all the shining, right? Shining that brighter into the world. It's not doing something because someone says you should do it. It's finding your custom path that works for you, because everyone has different visibility strengths and weaknesses, and no two visibility journeys look exactly the same. And so it's really about, having a custom journey. Like, first, what are your goals and what's your vision, and how can we get you in alignment with that frequency and that vibration so that you can start calling it in. And when you're in that alignment, the people, places, things, opportunities, they come in very organically. And it's a much more receptive way of being in the world versus the heavy masculine doing, pushing, right? Always thinking it's me, that I have to do all of these things, right? The women, that I work with, were really calling in more of this universal spiritual principles, the multidimensionality of who we are as a spiritual being, having a human experience, and leaning into those incredible tools and power that we have to call in what we're looking for.
Yes. I mean, that's just so brilliant. I can feel it, and I can feel it in your heart as you're speaking this, that this is really a part of I think this is part of your differentiator, Heather, is that you are bringing in alignment and helping people find that from their natural self, and being able to start to express that in a way that then draws the right people to them. And it feels authentic. It feels congruent. It feels as though you're just being you, but you're just helping them sort of navigate what feels like a hard part of business, and that is getting the word out at the same time being who you are. And there's nothing more important than that, because when you attract, magnetically draw to you those people who align with you, then the relationship becomes almost effortless in so many ways. It becomes fun. It becomes something you look forward to because you're drawing the right people to you. And nobody wants to have the wrong people drawn to them, right?
Yeah, those are the ones we want to repel. Like, if they're not your people, we just don't let them into, it's the boundaries. It's such an important thing, right? Knowing when to say no, and not allow certain people and energies to come into our space if they're detrimental. It happens from time to time where, I will connect with someone and I can just tell, like, this relationship is not in alignment. There's a lot of times it's people's resistance coming up. And I have to be okay with saying, I don't think this is a fit or a match right now, but I wish you luck and good luck on your journey. And we don't have to, I think a lot of us, especially that are more spiritually inclined, like, we're used to people pleasing. And it really comes to a point where you get that, more confident nature in yourself and your business, where you get to the point where you are more comfortable saying no and having those boundaries. And that's also having those clean boundaries is what it opens the space for the people that you are meant to serve to come in.
Yeah, it's just a really great mindset to establish for yourself. And I know it's probably harder for women, because we do, as you said, we do want to please people. And we want to serve as many as we can, right? It's like, I'll serve everybody if I can, because I want to make a bigger impact and difference in the world. But that's really not advisable, because you're probably doing yourself and that person who's not in alignment a disservice. So I really think this is an important thing to touch on today. And we're going to move it into the next discussion, the visibility journey from unknown to unforgettable. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you're working on it for yourself, and this is part of what you're incorporating into the work with your clients. So go ahead.
Yeah, so that's really where you do get to lean deeper into who you are, your gifts, your purpose for this life that you're in right now, while you're here on this planet, having these gifts that only you can bring to the world in the way that you do it, and finding the way to, like, really lean in. And, the more you can lean in from that heart-centered place and that purpose-driven place, the things that are stopping you or blocking you from getting visible, they tend to transmute and fall away. And so that's really like, we've talked a lot about the alignment piece, coming from that place first, but that's not it. Like, we can't just sit back and sit on a hill waiting for our life to happen, right? So it's one, being aligned, but then the really huge next piece is taking the inspired and divine action, right? When you get inspired and you're getting those messages or that feeling or that tug to do something, to actually do it, to take action. And that's the outer work, the strategy. So when you have that combo of the inner and the outer journey, it's just incredible what can happen. And I've used these formulas for myself to really go from not even having an online business to, especially when the pandemic hit, that was a really challenging time because my PR agency business got wiped out from under me. All the events were canceled. And I realized, I want to go all in on my online business at this point. And, it kind of was a have to situation. It was like, that was the thing that was going to work at that moment because everyone was going online. No one could go anywhere. And it was also a scary time. So looking back to my grandparents, 3 of the 4 served in World War II. And even though I was in a fearful state and didn't know what was going to happen, it was, this uncertain moment in time, I decided I was really going to lean into their bravery and draw on their courage and go into an expansion mode instead of contraction. So most of the world was contracting. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. If my grandparents could put themselves in harm's way in our last global crisis, I think I can do something here more than just Netflix and chill. So I decided to start holding free live events for my community. I've always had a gift of thriving in uncertainty. So I thought, I'm going to teach that. I launched my first ever high-end mastermind, which is largely geared towards women. And I made my initial investment into a business coach at that time and was able to, within a year or two, 40x that investment because I really just went all in. I decided this is it. I'm going for it. I want to be of service. It's time for me to shine my gifts into the world in a bigger way. I had kind of been dipping the toe in, and then I said, all right, I'm diving in. And that's when you really jump off the cliff and expect the net to appear, because it can be very daunting and scary for, anyone here who's an entrepreneur knows this journey. And that was when also the LA chair of the Forbes Business Council saw what I was doing, and she invited me to be on the Forbes Business Council. And just incredible things were happening, getting invited to be, speaking and paid to speak. And so really that showed me that, the power of this visibility stuff, it's no joke and it works. So I've used it for my clients for a couple decades in my agency work. I've used it for myself, and now I'm using it for the consultants, creatives, entrepreneurs who are showing up in my, sphere here to help themselves. It's really done with them on how to have that alignment to get more visible. And then what is the actual strategy and plan for them, custom to them. And I've had just one of my clients who's one of our superstars who just really took the information and the coaching and ran with it, just announced recently that she's, through the work she's done with me in my program, she's 10x'd her income. And she's working less and making a lot more money. And she's just over the moon excited with things that have been happening in her world. We helped her get her first traditional book publishing deal. And so she's got a book now out in the world. And she's, appearing regularly on her TV news in her city, right? Her local affiliate. And as a regular guest, and just things like that have, put her through the stratosphere in every way, from her income, her impact, her influence, really with this incredible movement around healing is possible. She's a life coach. And it's just incredible to watch my clients go on those journeys from, not really having much of, a presence online or being seen by many people, or maybe it's just in a smaller market. And then they go from local to global, and then suddenly have this global appearance. They're happy when they, Google themselves and see what comes up, and they have, suddenly a global online presence, and they move into this, what I call the omnipresence, right? Where you're seeing them everywhere. people start to know who they are. The opportunities are coming a lot easier. And it's a journey. It definitely is a journey to get there. But when you implement and do the work, I mean, for this woman, this all happened within about a year's time.
Fabulous. Now, you touched on some really key points there. I'm going to talk about a few gems, and the rest of you, I want to hear from you. What did you hear? Because there were some brilliant gems there. Number one, Heather talked about herself and how she had to, well, she was using her grandparents as an example, and she had to decide to go all in and make a commitment to thrive in uncertainty. That's just such a brilliant thought in and of itself, that I'm going to just go all in. If my grandparents can do it in uncertain times, there's no reason I can't. And so that's what she did. But she did something else. She invested in her business by getting her own mentoring. And in the process, 40x'd her business. Now, come on, this is brilliant. So you start there, and then she is doing and sharing and teaching part of what she did in her own strategies to get the word out, so that now she's, recognized on Forbes and getting numerous speaking engagements. So that's what she can do for you as well. And it's a process that you have to be willing to move through the fear. And yet with someone like Heather, she can make it a lot easier to move through that uncertainty. And Heather, we are at a time, once again, I would say, that is filled with uncertainty. If you talk about an economy that is retracting, you could set up that mindset that, oh, people aren't investing right now, and you would be very mistaken. People are investing. They're looking for better ways. They're looking for ways in order to improve their life in some way, because they are struggling. So don't think because things are retracting that this is not a time for you to step out and take some risk during uncertainty and invest in yourself, because that's how you grow. That's how you move. That's how you grow your business and get recognized and become unforgettable, right, Heather?
Exactly. Yeah, that's so well said, Virginia.
I was listening. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you employ. Now, I know you already said that people, you have a unique relationship with them. Everyone is a little different, so their needs are different. So their publicity needs are going to be different. The way they get exposure is different. Can you touch on some of the highlights of what you recommend, some of the strategies you put people through?
Yeah. So really everything that we're doing is, if you think about business and how you're going to meet new people that are going to work with you or hire you or collaborate with you, there's only three ways that that's going to happen. That's through organic methods. That's through partnerships or affiliate or referral, right? So that's sort of partnership marketing. And then the third one is paid, like paid advertising. So Facebook ads, that kind of traditional advertising. So what I really help, especially women, I do serve some men, but what I really help them with is getting clear on their organic path, which is, we sometimes call that the free publicity, right? Where it requires your time and effort and your investment to do the things. But again, it's also not just like, everyone that I work with is a founder or CEO, they're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, they're doing their own thing. It's not about them doing all the things. A lot of it is about delegation. Even if it's a low-cost VA, an intern, there are plenty of ways that you can actually get similar results as if you had hired a very expensive PR agency, and get those kind of results, if not better, because you're always your own best publicist, right? When you're talking about what you're doing in the world. And, so that's, a big part of it is really just getting them into alignment, and then having the key strategies that are going to work for them. And that typically will involve, so when you think organic, the three ways you're going to connect within organic are through your writing, your speaking, and the media. And depending on the person, we create a path. And within, of course, writing, speaking, the media, there's another bunch of paths within each of those. So it's really kind of just looking, auditing their business, figuring out where are the gaps, what are their strengths, what are their goals, and then creating that customized journey and strategy for them. And I will say, after 25 years, no two journeys look exactly the same.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, because you're dealing with unique individuals with their own unique perspectives, their own way of wanting to present themselves. And that's part of it. You know, one of the things when I'm talking to people about the importance of using live stream and video marketing, I say to people, you know, it's still one of the best ways to build the know, trust, and like factor with people. But if you're not comfortable on camera, number one, I would suggest you do take some time to work through that so that you can become comfortable. But number two, not everything has to have you visually on camera to still get the word out about who you are. So there are different ways for different personalities to get the word out. And I think that's really what you're talking about is you find the comfortable path and then you want to stretch them a little bit in addition, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's always about coming up on our edges and then moving through those, stretching into them and through them, because we all know that's where the growth happens. It's being comfortable, starting to get comfortable with the discomfort.
Yeah.
And every time you do it, like you said earlier, it gets easier. It's the first time can be the most challenging. But one of my mottos that I love is persistence pays. So when you stick with things persistently and consistently over time and think about this as a long game and not like, okay, I'm just going to do a little push for a month or two and then I'm done. Like, that's not how it works. Like, this is something, it's like a lifestyle change. You build this into your life, into your business, and that's when things really start to shift.
Yes, it definitely has to be something that starts to become even natural for you to do, especially the organic part. And I love the fact that you do emphasize you don't have to do it all yourself, that there are support systems out there for you, including VAs that can take over a lot of that, as long as you're clear on what your path is. And that's, of course, Heather, where you come into play, because get clarity first, find your path and your direction, and then outsource what you're not comfortable with and you stick to what your brilliance is, I think is important. So I love this conversation. I just think it's so critical. And so many people start a business and then they just don't know what to do to how to get the word out. So, I mean, you're not going to be in business longer. It's going to be a hobby if you don't end up getting clients, if you don't end up having something to offer that people want. So I think that this conversation, as I said, is really critical to the success of your business. You need to really think through and take a hard look at what you need to do in your life. And let's just talk about, you know, this year, just starting off fresh. How are you going to get more visibility, exposure, and build your reputation as an expert in your niche? Now, we also don't want you to make mistakes in the process. And Heather's been around long enough to know there are plenty of mistakes that can be made. And if you can avoid them, that makes your movement into unforgettable visibility much easier. So, Heather, what are some of those mistakes that we need to avoid in business?
I would say the two biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs and small business owners making is stopping or waiting. So maybe they'll do a little bit of this work and then they'll stop and think, oh, it didn't work for me. And it comes back to what we were just talking about, is that persistence pays, that this isn't about a quick hit. This is about longevity. And so the stopping is a big problem, right? It's like, you've got to keep that momentum going and then leverage and build and capitalize on the momentum that you have. And then the waiting is thinking it's for someone else, it's for tomorrow, it's for famous people, right? The people, a lot of them are sitting back. I don't know what, waiting for what. It's like, you know, especially with the pandemic, we now know like life can be very short. I mean, we always knew that, but I think it's really in our face more than ever that it's time to take action and do the things and not just sit back waiting for your life to happen. So taking that action, not getting stuck, waiting for the future, right? So, and what usually this manifests into a few different things, which most people here are pretty familiar with and can relate to. One of the biggest ones that I deal with is perfectionism, right? Where people show up and they're just not taking action because, you know, they want to wait till the timing's perfect, their stuff is perfect, their website, whatever it is, but it's really, that's what's holding them back. Right? It's keeping them in the shadows, playing small, because they're, again, like waiting for things to be perfect. The next big one I would say is the sort of thinking, that they're not good enough, that imposter syndrome. There's other experts that are better than me out there. There's people already doing it or saying it. So why would people want to hear from me? And that's another big one is thinking that, it's just, it's people are either going to judge me, right? Who am I to do or say or think this? So that is another big one. And then that really gets us into the analysis paralysis, which is kind of also the compare and despair, right? There's so many ways you could go. And so you just don't choose anything. So all of these things result in stagnation, that stuckness. And a lot of times also it's just simply not knowing the steps. And of course, people don't know the steps. It's not what they do.
Right.
So, really first looking at those alignment pieces, like where consciously and subconsciously are you blocking yourself and holding yourself back, stopping, waiting, and why? And looking at that, clearing that, getting in alignment, and then having the plan and the action steps to actually implement to start getting the results. And again, it's not about having a lot of time or money to do it. I mean, I can give the example of a woman, Holly, who came to me, who was a speaker, a global keynote speaker. Her schedule was a little lighter than usual, and she had been doing this for a long time, but she said she was ready to put herself out there in a bigger way, tell her story, make more of an impact with her image, her reputation. And so we just did a little bit of course correction and tweaking and revamping of her positioning and branding and marketing, and did a PR campaign where she was then able, in just 2 hours a week of her, between her and her team, that's not even 2 hours of her time, that's the whole team. And within 6 months, 2 hours a week, she went through the stratosphere. She had her speaking schedule booked over 2 years out. She was appearing in trade media in her industry. She was appearing in business magazines like Fast Company as the expert that she already was. We just now, the rest of the world was hearing about it. It was really incredible to see her journey and, really telling her story in a bigger way. She had a Me Too story that she went public about. And so just knowing how to navigate the media gauntlet and help people put themselves out there in an aligned way that has positive results. It truly is a bit of art and science.
Yeah, well, good for her that she connected with you, because she already had the speaking part down. But in what'd you say, 6 weeks she had booked out for 2 years?
6 months, yeah.
6 months. Okay, I'm sorry about that. 6 months she had booked out for 2 years. That's phenomenal.
And then went on to be featured in documentaries, win a series of awards. Like that's that, as we get to that omnipresence, that's where all those chips they start to line up and fall in place. And just one more incredible thing after another incredible thing starts to happen.
Yeah. Oh, and 2 hours a week, most of which she probably delegated. That's phenomenal. Are you all hearing this? Isn't this exciting? So bottom line is, stop stalling, stop holding back, and just decide that you're going to take the steps forward. And yes, develop a clear path to get there, but choose something. Choose a path. Maybe the path will, it'll change a little bit going forward, but at least choose a path and commit to it. And as Heather says, be persistent. Be persistent. Then you can stop and evaluate and decide if you need to change course a little bit. But you've got someone in Heather who can really help guide you and get you to the next level much faster than if you try to do this all on your own. So I'm just thrilled, Heather, to have you share your brilliance with everyone today. And you do have something special for everyone. I'm going to bring that up and you can tell them about it. We have a special gift for everyone from Heather. So Heather, I'm going to just let them know where to go get it. They can go to shinetips.com/Heather Gift. Shinetips.com/Heather Gift. What are they going to get when they go there, Heather?
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing this. So yeah, they're going to be invited to my next free masterclass. I do live masterclasses for my community. And this one, we're really focusing on visibility, how to have more of that impact, awareness, and authority without endless content creation. So I think that's a really important takeaway for everyone here today, because everyone's doing social media on some level. And the thing is, people are really forgetting about their PR strategy and plan. And when you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall, then it's no wonder maybe you're not growing as fast as you'd like to, you're not reaching the right people. So getting even clearer with a social media strategy, that's why we talk about digital PR, because it includes social media as part of it, right? That's part of the plan. So just being more focused, strategic, intentional with where you're putting your time and energy so that it's going into more income, generating tasks. That's what we want people to be doing, is focusing so that they're feeling more lit up and excited and alive in their business than they have in a long time. And that's the feedback we get a lot of times from our clients that go through our programs, is they're like, I'm actually enjoying my business again. This is why I started doing my business, because they wanted to be in joy and serving and lit up about what they were doing and the transformation they were bringing to the world. So these are the kind of things we focus on in the master classes, is really how to lean into your gifts, get into alignment, and then what are some of the strategies that you take from that aligned place to get the results you're seeking.
So is this a free masterclass then? I wanted to make sure. Yeah, so she's actually going to be training you in some of the areas that we've touched on today, which is phenomenal. So again, just go to shinetips.com/Heather Gift, and you'll be able to take a part in her next masterclass. So we're very excited about that. Now, Heather, I know we've touched on a lot today, and I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate all you who have been here watching, whether you're live or in replay. We appreciate you. If you felt that this information was valuable and you know someone else who could benefit from it, please help spread the word. Let them know that you just saw a great interview and that they might benefit by it as well. So get the word out. This is all part of what Heather would call organic marketing, right?
Absolutely.
Heather, I want to thank you so much for being here today. Any final thoughts you want to leave with our viewers before we go?
Yeah, so one of my favorite quotes that I love to share is "Follow Your Bliss" by Joseph Campbell. And that really is about following your heart, and just knowing that when you're feeling those tugs and that gut feeling of going in a certain direction, just trust that and follow that. And it's going to take you where you're meant to be. So yeah, follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Heather, today. And all of you, thank you as well. We look forward to seeing you all on the next Inspirational Business Women Show. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Virginia. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Business Women Show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.